just stopped raining and now it started raining again. April showers, honestly. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be my March reading wrap up and a reading goals update as well. So March was it wasn't the best month reading wise. I did not manage to read nearly as much as I wanted to. Of the 4 books on my TBR, I read one of them and I actually haven't completed it yet. I'm a little over halfway through it. That book, by the way, is Perfect Match by Jodi Picoult. So far, so good. I'm enjoying it. And based on what I've read so far, I definitely do think I'm going to pick up more of her stuff, more of her works. I'm definitely aiming to get this finished this month. I just don't, no, I was going to say I don't really know what happened, but I feel like I have a pretty good idea about what happened. I'm in my final few months of my degree, and obviously that takes precedence. As well as that, I was also reading this book by Joanna Trollope, which I actually started in February and only finished in March because it's one of the worst things I've ever read. I got it at the charity shop that I was volunteering at a couple summers ago. Before this book, I'd never read anything by Joanna Trollope, and I can say with confidence that I'm not going to read anything by her in the future. It was just so filled with racism that I was just uncomfortable. Not that racism is ever justified, but it wasn't like it was presented in a way that said, you know, this is wrong, this isn't how we should, you know, how we should talk and how we should be. It just was. It was published 26 years ago. I mean, things have obviously changed a lot in 26 years, but to me 26 years isn't even that long ago for it to have been so filled with racism. I mean, granted, I wasn't around 26 years ago, so I can't speak to what it was like in that time period, but I was just a bit blown away by it, and it was such a drag. It's not even a long book. It should not have taken me as long as it did to finish. It's 319 pages and I should have just DNF'd it, but for some reason it's like I get FOMO. I just need to know how a story ends. I finished near enough every book I've ever started. I don't DNF books, I just don't. After this book I'm really thinking I might have to. I love reading, but this just sucked all the joy out of me. I'm not one to tell people what they should and shouldn't read, not really. But please don't waste your time on this book. Don't waste your time on this book. I have a really hard time understanding how anybody could like that book. Oh, by the way, I don't think I even said it's called The Men and the Girls. I'm still trying to get into this whole actually explaining what a book is about thing. So basically it's about these 2 women, Julia Hunter and Kate Bain. So they are the partners of these 2 older men who are in their 60s, and they're younger women, they're in like their 30s I think, and they're connected because of the 2 men who are best friends. Kate is in a relationship with James and Julia is married to Hugh. Julia and Hugh have twins. Kate doesn't have any kids with James and they live with his old uncle Leonard and her kid Joss, short for Jocelyn. And basically, what is this book even about? The book starts with James knocking an old woman off of her back, Beatrice, and kind of just what ensues. I gave it 2 stars, but I honestly think that was a little bit generous. It felt like a painful waste of my time, and I really do wish I hadn't finished reading it. I'm fairly confident in saying that had I not read that book, I think I would have read more than I had done. So the other book that I finished last month was Beauty Queens by Libba Bray. That's my first Libba Bray novel, and I'm pretty sure it's not the one that she's even known for. I've heard Libba Bray's name floating around BookTube quite a bit. I just had to double check, but obviously Libba Bray is probably most known for The Diviners. I want to read those books because I'm pretty sure it's a series, but Beauty Queens, guys. So I listened to that as an audiobook. I feel like right now and over the next few months, audiobooks are going to be the main way that I consume books because I just don't have as much time as I would like to sit down and read all the time. Whereas I can listen to an audiobook whilst I twist my hair or do washing up or just, you know, like household bits. I really enjoy Beauty Queens. From looking at reviews, I feel like it's kind of like Marmite. Most people seem to either love it or hate it. I'm firmly in the camp of loving it. I thought it was so funny. I feel like listening to it really made the experience for me, and I'm definitely going to reread it or re-listen to it or whatever. I really liked how Libba distinguished each character because each character had their own voice. It had such a full cast of characters, you would think that it would get confusing, but the way she read it, you knew each character's voice. I loved it. Definitely a 5-star read or 5-star listen. It was about 14 hours. It took me a couple of weeks to listen to it. Would highly recommend. The Diviners and Beauty Queens I'm sure are very different, but I'm going to have to listen to The Diviners now. now or read that. Did it again, forgot to explain what actually happened. So Beauty Queens is kind of like Lord of the Flies, but with girls, with beauty queens. Their plane crash lands on an island and they have to survive. There's a beauty queen for every state, so 50 beauty queens. Most of them die. That's not a spoiler, that's just like the synopsis. But most of them die, and I think all in all there's maybe 12 or 14 of them that survive. They're on their way to the pageant, I think, when the plane crashes. And it's not just them on this island, even though they think it is. You know, things happen here and there. There are pirates at one stage and just, you know, cover-ups and just general craziness going on. It's a very enjoyable book. I liked it a lot. I don't tend to reread things, but this is something that I do think I'm gonna have to reread because it was just so funny. I actually watched more movies than I read books last month. I didn't actually watch Black Panther last month. I watched it in February, but I just want to mention it real quick. Amazing movie. If you haven't seen it yet, you definitely need to. That film just epitomizes why we need representation. I just love seeing the effect that that movie has had on people, like on little kids who have seen people who look like them in film, in a major motion picture, in a Marvel movie. So much has already been said. I don't want to just like regurgitate things, but I really feel like that film was a long time coming and I'm glad we have it. It's definitely going to be a rewatch. Top notch. It was great. Fantastic. I loved it. I also watched To the Bone. To the Bone is a Netflix original movie starring Lily Collins and Keanu Reeves, and it's basically about this girl, well, young woman really, because I think she's early 20s. It's about her battle with anorexia. Lily Collins herself has experienced eating disorders in the past, and I think that fact alone helps bring a different kind of authenticity to the role. For me, the film felt very authentic, and as someone who's not actually experienced any kind of eating disorders herself, I don't know that that statement necessarily carries much weight, but I do feel like if someone's gone through something, they can draw on their own personal experiences and just, you know, make the character feel a bit more real, and I feel like that happened with this film. It was a good film. I liked it. I would recommend it. It wasn't a film that glamorized eating disorders or anything. I feel like you saw the reality of it, the bones of it. I mean, eating disorders are catastrophic and they put your life on pause if they don't just end your life altogether. And I really feel like they did a great job with that movie. And I really like the ending in particular. If you haven't watched To the Bone and you're considering watching it, I would recommend it to you. So I watched Black Panther, To the Bone, The Greatest Showman, and The Nice Guys with Ryan Gosling and Russell Crowe. I really like The Nice Guys, but I can't even tell you what really happens because I feel like I didn't really understand it. It was super funny though. It was so funny, and I'm definitely going to watch it again, least of all so I can actually understand what happened. I love Ryan Gosling, always been a fan of Ryan Gosling. I've not actually seen too many Russell Crowe movies, but he's a good actor. The Nice Guys is like I don't think you'd necessarily call it a buddy cop film. It's set in the 70s and it stars Ryan Gosling as a private investigator and I was going to say Hugh Jackman, Russell Crowe as... What is Russell Crowe? He's kind of like an enforcer of types in that film. They both join forces to investigate just, you know, a series of strange sort of things that have been happening but are all connected. The film starts with the death of an adult film star. There's cover-ups and the government's involved and nothing really makes sense, but it's very funny. It's very funny. And I would definitely recommend that one. If you're into comedies, check that out. I finally got to see The Greatest Showman, and it actually came out in December, but I only just saw it. I'm a fan of musicals. I love musicals. When I was younger, and kind of still now, not gonna lie, I was a big fan of High School Musical. Hairspray, hands down, my favourite film. The 2007, I think it was 2007, the Zac Efron version. The fact that he was in The Greatest Showman didn't hurt. Didn't hurt. I really enjoyed the movie. It was a musical drama type film. I'm definitely gonna have to rewatch it, and I was gonna watch it again anyway, but the reason I need to rewatch it is because someone decided it would be a great idea to bring a toddler to the movie, and that kid just would not be quiet, which to be fair, I understand. The film wasn't inappropriate for children, but he was definitely too young to be engaged in that kind of film. A little bit hard to focus, just a little bit hard to focus. But even with that being said, I enjoyed the film. I don't think it was amazing. Definitely wasn't like the best film I've ever seen by far, but musicals just have a kind of quality where you can just kind of rewatch them endlessly. The soundtrack was really good. This Is Me, love that song. I really like Never Enough as well. That was a good song. It was just a good movie. It was a nice, easy, light watch, and I enjoyed it. It wasn't a super long film, but it wasn't that short either. But I kind of feel like had it been a bit longer, certain plot points would have had a bit more time to develop, because I feel like certain things just happened really quickly. The Zac Efron and Zendaya romance, I feel like we didn't really get to see their relationship develop. It's just kind of like they went together, then they were. you know? I feel like that could have been fleshed out a little bit more. I feel like that's my only real critique of the film. So yeah, that's basically March wraps up. Quick update on my reading goals. Currently I am 6 books behind on my reading challenge. Not great. March was definitely not as good a month as I hoped it would be reading wise. But I'm trying not to be too hard on myself because I have to put more energy and effort into my degree naturally. It's like the last few months, the last leg. I'm not going to mess it up now. I do want to read a bit more in April. Like I was saying earlier, I'm going to be turning to audiobooks. Currently I'm listening to The Problem with Forever by Jennifer Armentrout. So far so good. I'm only about 10% of the way into that, so I can't say too much because I literally don't know that much, but I'm liking it so far. It's my first Jennifer Armentrout novel. I think it's fair to say that it won't be the last. I don't see that 6-book deficit shrinking anytime soon, to be honest, but my hope is that it doesn't grow and that I can close the gap in the summer months and just, you know, get back on track and maybe get even a little bit ahead of schedule. But we shall see. I don't think there's too much else to say, guys. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please remember to give it a like and leave me a comment. If you haven't, go ahead and press the subscribe button, which should be about here, maybe here, or even over there. And if you want to check out some more videos, there should also be some suggestions on the screen somewhere. I don't just do book-related videos on my channel. I also do reviews. I have some hauls, I have a few tutorials, and just a general hodgepodge of different videos here. Go ahead and check those out if any of that sounds interesting to you, and I will see you in my next video. Bye guys. I don't just do beauty, no. I also have beauty reviews. No, actually I don't. Even though my voice is getting a bit cracky, wow. I actually watched more books, no.